our children, their behavior is trying to the best of their ability to be seen, to be understood, to be empathized with, and ultimately to be guided and supported. Because our children cannot guide and support themselves on the inside the way that a grown-up can, they can get stuck. Hello, parents. Today we're going to discuss a topic that is quite delicate and can typically touch in some more vulnerable, tender parts of us as parents of our children, in our communities, in the conversations that we have around what it takes to raise our children in a way that will promote a deepest, greatest sense of well-being within them, within us as the parents, and within the entire family system. And that is the R word, respect. And this is, again, a very tender word. This has an immense amount of cultural connotation. This can be interpreted in as many different ways as there are families and cultures and systems. And today we are going to be discussing the word respect as it intersects in the ways that we communicate with our children. So many of the conversations that typically take place around respect and communication have to do with things like backtalk, rude language, our children being disrespectful to us, and how we can effectively respond to our children, how we can set appropriate limits and boundaries around what is acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior. And today is in alignment with what you may have heard or may have wondered about yourself, and we're going to take it a step further into, for some, quite unfamiliar, uncharted territory. And it's expected that there will be discomfort in your system as you hear what I have to say, because we are expanding, and expansion is uncomfortable, and it challenges everything we know to be true and correct. And we can approach this conversation with an open mind and a willingness to be curious and playful. You may have skeptical parts, hesitant parts, and downright, this is just completely bonkers voices inside of your head, and that's okay. So where I'd like to begin is inviting into the space a overarching belief that all behavior is communication. And behavior as communication can come out through the voice. So all verbal behavior of our children is not necessarily communicating face value what it is that they're saying, but is communicating something much deeper, much more vulnerable, most likely quite disorganized inside of the child. And they are showing us through rude language, disrespectful language, backtalk, aggressive, harsh tones, communications that can sound very, very inappropriate and even assaulting to the parent. If we can move forward in this conversation today with an overarching belief that all behavior is communication, and our children, their behavior is trying to the best of their ability in any given moment to be seen, to be co-regulated with, to be understood, to be empathized with, and ultimately to be guided and supported. Because our children cannot guide and support themselves on the inside the way that a grown-up can, because our brains are so much more developed, they can get stuck in a state of intense emotion or in a state of mental rigidity. Sometimes that can happen at the same time inside of their brain. They're looping and obsessed over a thought like, nobody likes me, this isn't fair, I never get what I want. And as the adult, you have the evidence inside of your brain to say, that's illogical and untrue, and I could lecture and explain how untrue that is to them right now. Or we could be experiencing language that is full of blame and full of, you never do anything for me and you never listen to me and we never spend any time together. Your work is more important than I am. And we can hear that, what we perceive as an overreaction of emotion, and go in with again, that's not true. That's not true at all. I did this and I did this for you and I did this for you and I did this for you. And we go into a state of the child is the enemy and we need to keep ourselves protected from them. And that is disconnect. And when a child experiences disconnect, they're going to go into an even greater, deeper, more alarming state of self-protection. So this is a power struggle. This is when a parent is in a state of self-protection and a child is in a state of self-protection. Good luck from here. There are absolutely ways of repairing and recreating connection from that state of disconnect, but what if we could get in front of it in the first place? That's a really exciting potential and possibility for us as the parents, for us to not even pick up the rope of the power struggle, because we have child developmentally appropriate and effective strategies for meeting the deeper needs behind our children's disrespectful language or behavior. And I'll pause to say, this might be the place where your mind is saying, oh, Rebecca, that sounds hippy-dippy, hunky-dory, but that would never work for my kid. My kid is rude. My kid is this. My kid is that. And I hear you, and I get why that is being activated inside of your system right now. It can seem like the top of Mount Everest if you have been wading around at the bottom of the mountain of chronic stress, chronic conflict, chronic power struggle. I can understand why this seems irrelevant to your life right now. But what if we could keep going with the possibility that our child's communication to us is an invitation, and it is up to us to build the capacity, the skills, the wherewithal, the tenacity, even if we don't want to, even if it's hard and it doesn't feel good. It's tough work to be a parent who is approaching dynamics with our child or children from a place of, I am the adult and they are the child. The irony here is how we've been conditioned to understand circumstances with our children is the opposite of what I'm saying, which is, how dare you? I am the adult and you are the child. How dare you, child who is subordinate and beneath me and dependent on me, treat me this way when I do everything for you, when I've done all of these things for you. How dare you treat me this way? And I can understand why we go there inside of ourselves. It's a very activating place. The potential here for us to grow into over time with lots of mistakes and lots of recommitment moments is for our child to have their experience and for me to say, oh my goodness, my child is needing my help right now. I want to react to this. My conditioned brain is saying, this is not okay. This is wrong. This is bad. I am letting my child abuse me, assault me, disrespect me. I'm raising a monster, fill in the blank to all of the places that our brain goes to make sense of the moment. But we are rewiring our brain to make sense of the moment. The moment is, my child is needing my help. What can I do? Number one, we can turn toward and step in to the moment. This is very basic mindfulness practicing of just what is happening in this moment. I am going to be taking the path of least resistance, which means, no, I don't want this to be happening right now. Oh my goodness, this is highly inconvenient emotionally and just practically in my day. And also, if I'm going to resist this and fight against this, it's going to last longer, it's going to escalate higher, and it's going to create a state of disconnect that will be harder to repair over time. Can I turn toward this moment and step into this moment? Number two is that we can reflect what it is that we hear our child saying and also what we hear our child not saying by taking curiosity guesses. Reflective listening can sound like, I hear you, you sound pretty upset, and you're saying that I don't spend any time with you, or you're saying your brother gets everything and you get nothing. I hear you. I'm not agreeing. I'm not saying you're correct. All I'm saying is I hear the words that are coming out of your mouth and it's making sense to me. I have a willingness to be here and to hear you and to hold it. As a neutral mediator, we can begin taking empathy guesses as well. If we hear our child saying, you never do anything for me, you always do everything for Sam, and I'm always the one who doesn't get anything, we can start to make guesses that says something like, it sounds like you're experiencing something that's really unfair. Is that right? Or it sounds like you're feeling really annoyed with your brother these days. Or maybe something completely different. It really depends on the moment and the kid. You can say something like, hey, what's going on? Did something happen at school? You had that test you've been preparing for? Or did something happen at Dad's house this weekend? I'm just wondering if something deeper is happening. I hear you say this and I hear you say this. Is this really what's going on for you? Is there something else? And this requires trust and vulnerability. You know, our child might be defensive if we're taking empathy guesses about a deeper layer of hurt that they're not quite ready to be seen in yet. So they might say, no, what are you talking about? Nothing happened at school. Nothing happened at Dad's house. I'm not upset. You just don't love me. You know, they might meet you with that defense. And we don't want to meet defense with offense. We're wanting to meet defense with understanding and okay, you know, honey, I hear you. It makes sense to me why you're experiencing this. It makes sense to me why you're saying Sam gets everything and you get nothing. I get it. Would you like me to respond, or would you like me to just listen? So here's consent. So just backtracking a little bit, we've brought into the mix here today, turn toward, step into the moment. Take the path of least resistance. We've discussed reflective listening. This can be repeating back literally what you're hearing your kids say, sometimes a lot of what you're saying or some of what they're saying, and sometimes just key words. And we've also discussed taking guesses, curiosity guesses of what's going on under this actually. And then we have consent. Ideally, consent is happening at the very beginning of all of this, before we're taking curiosity guesses. Like, is it okay if I guess what could be going on for you? Or would you like me to respond, or you just want to be heard right now? And we can support our child to really orient themselves, because when they're speaking disrespectfully, rudely, aggressively, irrationally, overreactively, that is a red flag. Those are like a million red flags waving that our kid is saying, help me, I'm drowning in my emotional brain. Help me, I am trapped in my illogical, distorted thinking. Don't punish me, don't assault me back, don't aggress me back, don't defend back. I need you. I can't do this on my own. And it's really easy, especially if our kids' bodies are bigger, like teens, to see them as an adult who should be able to do this by now. But if we're to keep in mind that beautiful prefrontal cortex that really helps to organize our thoughts and our emotions and to slow us down and to support us to communicate in the way that really represents and reflects our inside world, that is respectful and considerate of others, that doesn't finish developing until 26, 27, 28, and for some kids even longer, because we know that childhood experiences impact the developmental milestone of the brain. So we can hold two things at once here. One, this is tough work for us. This is more work for us as parents. This is requiring growth. It's requiring reflection. It's requiring us to get curious about, why are we against seeing our kids as just needing help? Why are we attached to seeing our kids as rude and disrespectful and defiant? What is in there? What are we getting out of that? We can also hold here that this is really exciting and this is going to help our families. This is going to tremendously shift the dynamics that you share with your child, because they're going to see you as someone that they trust. And children see adults who can handle their own emotions, who can communicate in a way that is not irrational and illogical back. They're going to trust that adult. There is an intuitive sense, a felt sense that this person is who I want to grow into. This person symbolizes maturity and evolution. That's what we are looking for. That is intrinsic motivation. Our modeling can be what inspires our child to develop. Our modeling can be what inspires our child to want to mimic us. They want to mirror their elders. That is intrinsic respect. That is intrinsic consideration. And that's what we're going here. So I'm really curious what has come up for you. This is the first bite of a whole feast of the paradigm shift that we are inching away at here at the Giant Institute for Parenting and all over the world. If you'd like to leave a comment, if you want to share a personal story, if you have a question, if you want to share your skepticism or your hesitancy or your fear, do that too. This is a real place, and transformation is going to require that we are honest with ourselves and all of the parts within us that have a no for this, actually. It's probably the most powerful part of this shift that we're in. So I really appreciate spending this time with you today and sharing this information. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Enjoy your day.